All right, Laura, it's great to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. Woke up really grateful and very excited to be here with you today. How
Yeah.
about you?
No, it's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm really grateful to be here as well, and been looking forward to it. And I just kind of thought I'd kind of get into like what you do, how you got into it, because you're very much into personal development, yoga, energy, and you're like a self healing coach. And how did you kind of get into this?
So I think it all started with my own journey. Yeah, I've was quite a wild, let's say, wild teenager, and also quite wild in the beginnings of my 20s. Yeah, had some struggles with addictions, alcohol, and yeah, at one point I just woke up and I realized that I need to change something in my life because I just wasn't happy. I was, like chasing things, like chasing happiness, but never able to just hold on to it or like cultivate it in my life. And that's why, yeah, I really needed something different. I knew that the way I was living was just not the be all end all for me. And that's when that's when I discovered yoga. That was my first stepping stone into my healing journey, let's say. And it got really dark in the beginning because a lot came up that I haven't dealt with for years, many blocked memories that I didn't want to look at. They were like uncomfortable, was running away from them. But once I found that I need to deal with it, I need to look at it, I realized that I need many tools, or that I wanted to learn many tools of how I could help myself. And that then later turned around into me wanting to spread this knowledge and share it with others so that they can help themselves and heal themselves.
No, I love that, and I think it's really great that you've been able to realize what the kind of path that you was on, and where it was going, and to look inwardly, in yourself, and be able to get to know yourself more and work on yourself and push through these blocks, and now you can you're helping other people do that through what you're doing. I think a lot of the time certain things happen in our lives, and then time goes on, and then you know sometimes we can kind of avoid things or put it to the side, and then you realize it's causing certain things to happen in your life, and I think it's all about kind of working on yourself, and help ultimately helping other people to do the same as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So I
I
can't.
think that I feel that we're also
Yeah,
presented with certain. Sorry, what was that? Uh,
the audio cut out, but I can hear you now.
okay. Um, I feel that we also presented with certain challenges in our life in order to grow. So I know that looking back at my life and at all the like struggles I went through, I know that I had to go through them. I had to move past these obstacles in order to become the person I am now, and in order to step into my purpose, because that was something that was driving me nuts. I always had this feeling that there's something waiting for me, that there's a way that I'm supposed to show up in this world, but I was just not. I wasn't sure what it is. I was like very almost desperately searching for what's my purpose and why am I here. And then after I did all this self-inquiry, and I allowed myself to not just see myself as a victim of, okay, that happened to me and that was all bad things, and I'm allowed to be sad and like depleted and just feeling just all these things. I just understood that this pain is now my power, and I can turn it around, and it happened for me so that I can jump over it and grow and, be like finally the person that I know I can be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like one of the rewarding things with what you do as well. Like you can look back and see how far you've come, and you probably see that growth in other people as well.
Yes, all the time. And it's also, I really love to remind people to take a step back and reflect, because so often we are trapped in our storylines, and we don't even realize how far we've come already, because once we step out of our story only, we can really grasp the whole, like, distance we've already went along. And it's always easier than to have somebody remind you of it, because also for me, for a long time, I felt like, oh, I'm not moving fast enough, I'm not evolving fast enough, I'm still stuck in whatever it is, right? But then when I took a step back and I just allowed myself to see the whole picture, I saw, wow, I've come a long way, and I can actually be really happy and proud of myself.
Yeah, no, I think as well, like with that, it's you have to kind of take that accountability of yourself and your situation, don't you? And a lot of the time, and I think I can relate to this, you kind of get into that kind of victim mindset when you're going through something sometimes, and then sometimes you're not aware of it, and then you're like, why me? Why is this happening? Or whatever. And then that's not helping anyone, that's not helping yourself, it's not helping anyone. And it's like kind of taking the situation and, kind of, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, and, it's difficult to go into things and push through things, but, there's a lot of growth that can kind of take place in that space, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. I completely feel every word you say, and I know that for me, being free is something very important. It has always been very important. I love traveling. I could never commit to staying in one place for a long time, for example. But I knew that I wanted more freedom even. And for me, this accountability you're speaking about, and taking responsibility for my own story and for my life instead of playing the victim, is like a form of freedom that is just very enriching. And it allows me to show up much differently in my life, because I'm not making myself, how do you say, I'm not allowing these challenges to
Mm.
get the better of me. Instead, I'm sovereign, and I'm standing here facing these challenges, and whatever comes my way just makes me stronger. So yeah, it's like, for me, it's way more empowering and, yeah, liberating as well.
Yeah. No, I think that's like really, important, to, like say, take hold of, where you're at, isn't it? And, you can apply that, to other areas of your life, and you can help other people with that. And I think, you know, it's it's that kind of triumph over adversity, isn't it? When you go through certain things or things happen and you're saying, I'm going to deal with this, and, I'm going to make something happen. And I think that's is really inspiring. And I think, like, with that, the yoga, kind of what got you into yoga and that kind of side, 'cause you do like live courses. You did like a course the other day, or was it like an Insta live kind of thing?
Mhm. So I offer many different things, because again, I'm free and I can't commit to just one thing in particular. So as I said, my journey started with yoga, and right now I'm currently teaching like a yin yoga class every Sunday. It's a very slow form of yoga, and yeah, there's not much movement. Instead, it's all about reflecting inwards. So what emotions are coming up, what is present in myself, what is present in my mind. And it's about tuning into very subtle subtle sensations in our system. So I really love this type of yoga in particular. But also I am currently launching new services. I am moving more into coaching or mentoring, actually. It's called Self-Love Sessions. And my intention is to guide people back home to themselves. I will, it's basically perfectly tailored to each individual, because I am also a student of Ayurveda, which is basically the sister science of yoga, and it's in the focus of this like science of life, it's called in its translation, is that we're all individuals, we're all unique, and we all have like different needs. So I really want to empower people to learn more about their needs. And I call it self-love sessions, because I believe that once we love ourselves, we enable us to make the best decisions for us. If you just imagine, for example, your partner or your sister, your mother, you love these people, and you only want the best for them, but we rarely show up for ourselves in this way. So yeah, that's where self-love comes in. And I believe that when we are in service of us, we can also step out and step up and be of service to others in the world much better.
I think that's a really great point, and I think like self-love is really important. I think a lot of the time, sometimes people can do a lot for other people and kind of forget about themselves, and I think I can definitely relate to that in the past, and I think like people kind of have those drivers where they're just kind of doing for the people, then you kind of discounting yourself because you're not giving yourself that time to do X, Y, Z, for yourself. And I think it's so important to be able to have that self love and to have that kind of good relationship with yourself. And I mean, it's a process, it's like an ongoing process. But I mean, you have to kind of start somewhere and get to know who you are and what works for you, and being kind to yourself. Because like if you're not a good person for yourself, and the relationship's not good with you, then that's going to affect how you are with other people, situations. And it's I think it's so important that people can kind of do that. And I think it's great that you're creating this course and platform, to help people, do that. Because I think with COVID and the whole situation, I think people are tapping more into it. They're becoming more aware. I think over this, what is it, like a year and a bit now. So I think your own mental health and your own relationship with yourself is like really important.
Yeah, I think that COVID just really amplified everything that was already there.
Yeah,
It's not new things happening. People struggled with mental health for a while, but it's just so deep down, where nobody can see it because there's so much
yeah,
stigma around it. And yeah, I really believe that with losing all those distractions of going there for drinks, meeting these people there, and going on holiday, we're just sitting at home and facing ourselves, and
mm,
that brings up a lot. That was what happened to me when I started my healing journey. I was facing myself, I was allowing myself to be present with me, and then all those things came up and I needed to deal with them. And yeah, I think that this is I don't want to say COVID is a good thing, but also here, looking at the challenge, not victimizing ourselves, but just thinking, how can I move through it? And how can I learn from it? How can I take these teachings and draw my lessons and, grow stronger?
yeah. No, definitely. I think there's definitely a silver lining to the situation. I think, like it's like you said, taking you think people were all in all different situations, but I think like, for the most part of people, they're kind of forced to, really look at themselves and to really think about, you know, what what's working, what isn't working. And you kind of presented with things like, what the things that people thought made them happy, or that they drew the happiness from these external things. You then got to challenge, the deeper parts of yourself, haven't you? So I think it's definitely been a silver lining for a lot of people, and there's a lot of growth to kind of come from, I think, this period. Um, you know, and I think it's great that you've been able to tap into that, and you've been able to push through and grow in this time, and you want to help other people. And I was thinking as well, like, do you have any like role models or mentors like now or growing up?
So that's a really interesting question that I would like to answer in two steps.
Yeah.
Because first of all, so I'm working a lot with like goddess deities, and one of my favorite ones is the Hindu goddess Kali, and she's known for her like fierce and ferocious nature, but also as the loving mother. And she's just one of those like maybe the most important expression of Shakti, which is feminine energy and creativity and fertility. And yeah, working with her archetype really empowered me because it's this like two-sided way of being a woman and showing up as a woman in our world, and being this fierce, ferocious expression of the feminine, which is able to move through the natural cycles of life, like knowing when to birth new creations, knowing when to destroy and destruct, and having this inner fire and like wildness. And then on the other hand, being this like pure expression of love for children, and or not just children, but also for like nature in all its forms. So the good and the bad things, accepting them as they are and not judging, instead learning and growing for them. So yeah, she's like one of my, let's say, role models, because
No, I love that.
yeah, I like she brought a lot of fire into my life, and I do honor everything that she stands for. Yeah, and then talking more about like worldly people, I've been working with my coach Alice Carter for the past year almost, and I really love her. She's so inspiring to me. And yeah, she's a coach for women on a mission. So she's supporting me in particular right now. Yeah, just to move past fear, because sometimes, it can be really scary to show up and like express everything that you stand for, because, especially me working with spirituality and a little outside the box. Many people, like in the beginning, I was struggling to voice it because I just didn't grow up in an environment where people talk about spirit or angel communication, intuitive like feelings, or all those things. And then when I discovered or found my way back and realized that this is what I want to spend my time on, and this is why what I'm passionate about, she really helped me to move past those limiting beliefs and ground into what I want to do, how I want to show up, and yeah, what I want to offer to the world, and how I want to be of service.
No, I love that, and I think that's really, really important. And I think, really like what you mentioned, that you're tapping into like like spirituality and like deeper states and deeper I can put into words like the deeper meaning of life. That makes sense. And like these kind of like goddess, did you say goddess kind of like
Yeah.
mentors and more role models, in a deeper sense. And I think, a lot of the time, people sometimes feel, I think, what is in the unknown, if that makes sense, or things that they don't. Some things that people don't understand, they can kind of be intimidated by that, and that's okay. But I think when you go deeper into it, there's a lot of growth and like an awakening. And I think like spirituality is very deep, and I'm very spiritual as well. And I think in spirituality, there is a lot there. And I think it's great that, you're just taking that leap of faith and you're just going into it, and you're just going into something that you're passionate about, something you're interested in. Because I think when you start doing that as well, you're going to then connect with people who are connected into that as well, people who are interested, people who do get it. And, you might inspire someone to go into it who it doesn't have much understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a learning curve. When I started out, I was still like, it's like I was dipping a toe in, and I wasn't quite sure if that's for me or not. But the deeper I went in, the more I realized that this is like just an innate part of my being. And the deeper my journey unfolded, the more people also entered that were aligned with my path and my belief systems. And many people, dropped out of my life that just didn't belong there anymore. And that was good too, because I was, shedding habits and beliefs, and they're also connected to people sometimes. So, I realized for myself that, I want to go in this direction. And that was just where I went. And
Yeah. No, I love that, and I think like it's so important that you're doing that, and you pay attention to yourself and what works and what doesn't. And sometimes, like in life, the path that you're on, certain people are kind of on that path, and sometimes they're not. They're not, and that's okay. And I think sometimes people in your life teach you lessons. Kind of teach you things about yourself, and you're probably gonna teach them something. And like it can be painful, because sometimes people that you might care about, or certain relationships, might kind of break. And but I think ultimately, it's like your energy, isn't it? You have to look after your energy and all of that. So I really commend you for what you're doing. And I also was going to say, do you have any like favorite books or anything as well?
so I don't really have a favorite book because, yeah, I have too many, I
There's
guess,
so many, yeah.
to pick one. But I want to mention what I'm currently reading, and that's from my teacher at Ayurveda school. So I'm currently doing an Ayurvedic year-long program again, and yeah, she's called Katie Silcox, and her book is called Happy, Healthy, Sexy. And it's basically like your entryway into Ayurveda or Ayurvedic living. And it's explaining a lot how to naturally glow and just, celebrate yourself and get deeper into routines and a life that is supporting you. And yeah, it's just, making you happy, healthy, and sexy.
Yeah. That's it's a cool title, isn't it? So what's it called again? That's what was it? What's the title of it again?
Happy, healthy, sexy.
Oh, that's awesome. But you mentioned something else, like beginning with Q or something like that. Cudonic living or something. Cute.
Ayurveda. That's what I'm studying. It's an ancient Indian science called the
Wow.
science of life. And
Wow.
so Ayurveda is at its root, I would say, is the theory that we all, as living beings, we are made of the five elements:
Mm,
earth, water, air, fire, and space or ether.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's basically the oldest medicine tradition there is in our world. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful way of tapping more into holistic health,
Mm,
because it's, understanding the body as a unity, like between body, mind, and soul. We're not just physical beings, we're also spiritual beings, we're energetic beings. There's just so much more to us than we can see. And Ayurveda as medicine form is, approaching the whole of it, and not just, our symptoms, not just like, yeah, what is visible to the eye.
wow. No, I, gosh, that's amazing, and I can definitely kind of, I think, relate to that in some way, because I quite tune into energy and spirituality, and I think like you said, there is far more than what we see, than what meets the eye. When you think about energy, you think about spirit, you think about what people are capable of, and what we see happen. I think the solution isn't just medicine. Like kind of clinical medicine. There's so much more than what we can kind of perceive to be, like interpret. If that makes sense. Or there's so much more happening. Energy. Um, what? Yeah, like I said, it's quite powerful, isn't it? And it is, like you said, it's one of the 8 oldest medicines. When you think about, like energy, space, and we're all connected, and we can create, our reality. We can heal ourselves. What you like you said, what you think you attract, and so it really does kind of go back to the kind of core beginning, doesn't it? Really, if you think about it, of like what we are.
Totally. And I think that that's also it's also something really important in Ayurveda, is that this theory and this form of medicine is really just there to empower us to come back to our core and our essence, because in our life there's so many forces coming in from the outside, maybe our culture, how our parents raise us. I mean, from the age 0 to 7, we're basically like a sponge soaking everything up that our surrounding does. So it's basically when we form many convictions and limiting beliefs. And through Ayurveda and just holistic healing, I feel it's so important to like get rid of all this, to come back to who I am, who I want to be, and also not listen so much. Like I feel nowadays there's so much information out there, which is beautiful, but also it's hard to find discernment. Like, so what is right for me now? There's so many tips on losing weight or living healthy. So what is right for my body? And that's also at the core, at what I want to do or what I'm doing, to make people more aware of their like individual needs. What do I need in my life? What do I need to be healthy? What do I need to be happy and show up as I want to show up in this world, without being so influenced by all the noise that's around us.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great point as well. Like, like in the world and the universe, like there's a lot happening, like there's a lot of noise, if that makes sense. And, like with the news and where we get our media from, what we look at, and, like you have to be so kind of mindful and careful what you look at when you look at it, what you listen to. There's so much, I think it's like the fastest kind of time of living, like kind of moving in this kind of forward, fast direction where so much is happening and, such a rate. And you have to be so mindful what you look at because, it can really affect your energy and your mindset if you're looking at the wrong things or, too much. I use to search for media now. I don't know if you heard of it, called DuckDuckGo. It's like a browser. And if you search it, if you say, I don't know, type in something you want to look for, it will give you those results, those actual results. It's not tons of kind of crap in some sense. Like a lot of the media you look at sometimes isn't even real. It's kind of fabricated and filtered out. So it's sometimes, you have to be so careful what you look at. And yeah, there's a lot happening, but you kind of have to look at what you can kind of control, don't you, ultimately as well, and be mindful of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I just want to mention that we're not just so it's actually all how we nourish ourselves. So
Mm,
we don't just have the chance to nourish our body with food or water. We also nourish our body through what we take in through our senses, or if we're not taking in healthy things, or like, let's say, positive things, we can also deplete our energy. And just now thinking about the news, counting death numbers every day and thinking about what is happening in the world, like if I surround myself with that 24/7, then of course I'm going to be freaking out, and that's not healthy nourishment for my body, mind, and soul. Instead, it's horrific, it's like hard.
Yeah.
And the pace you mentioned, the same, when I'm not taking time to ground in and to be mindful with life, then I'm not able to soak it all in and enjoy it, so it's always finding a balance here between the fast-paced life that can be fun and that's also very uplifting, but finding some like comfort and some peace and silence in between, and staying informed and checking the news, knowing what's going on in the world, but also, again, grounding in and being aware of your current situation and just being mindful with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to be very mindful of it. I think it's a good point you made, like, because if you look at certain things on the news, you kind of feel, makes you feel helpless. I think, like, I stopped looking at numbers a while back, and sometimes you see it on the news, and I just think, like, yeah, you feel helpless. Like, I saw the thing in India, like, the past few days, and I was like, it made me feel helpless. And then part of me was like, kind of made me feel a little bit angry, because I was like, well, think of all the money in the world, and some of these people in a wealth position. There shouldn't be people uh, in a place where they're struggling to get oxygen. Do you know what I mean? Because they're like lacking oxygen supplies. But then you just go down a whole rabbit hole. And then you like before you know it, you're like, oh, I feel helpless. I feel this, I feel that. Like, yeah, see it, but you can't focus on it too much, because there's not much you can do. Like, there's always going to be something happening. Yeah, you can't overlook it, but you kind of have to see it, but don't let it kind of, like, a bit like carrying logs, if that makes sense, on your back. Because I think when you're very empathic and you care a lot, you know it can impact you more.
Yeah. And I feel that very deeply, because I'm empathic too. And through my teaching, like, I'm so connected to India through yoga, Ayurveda. I mean, I honor the culture, I honor the country. I've experienced so many great lessons in India as well. And it breaks my heart to see these pictures, but then there's no point in sitting here thinking, oh, it's all horrible and I can't do anything, like going down the rabbit hole. So I have two choices. I can either get on with my life, or I can get up and be active and do something about it. And I mean, we don't always have a chance to become active, but I guess that just donating some money is really like a fast and easy way how we can make a difference. Because just thinking about the currency exchange,
Yeah,
a lot can be bought with just €1, in India, and so small actions can always have like a big
yeah,
impact already. And yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah, definitely.
of course there's not always something we can do, but just thinking, okay,
Yeah,
how can I help?
yeah, 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 definitely. And I think that all compounds, doesn't it? Like, you think if one person does it, another person does it, all adds up. Everyone's doing their little bit. um yeah, it's definitely important. And I was like, I think there's all, like, kind of like happiness, and, like, kind of what I would say happiness is for you, that kind of thing, or like sort of like success or happiness.
So I guess that for me, happiness, living free and grateful in every moment. um
Yeah,
yeah, just really having a free mind. Like, if I would need to paint a picture right now, it would be dancing barefoot in the grass in the sunshine, and being surrounded by butterflies and beautiful flowers. I think that's my
yeah,
image of like
yeah.
pure bliss and happiness.
Yeah,
And
no, I look.
then
Yeah, yeah.
you were talking about success. I'm, so free and can just, create my day as I want and dance in the grass whenever I feel like it. Then I'm successful as well. Then I made it.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love that, and I think it's important to to ground yourself and to be to be around nature. I think like I I really appreciate like nature as well, and I think being around it's like simple things, isn't it? Simple things like that. Being somewhere around nature, grounding yourself. It makes you really grateful. To I think to be alive. I think we kind of and it's good for your mental health to be around nature as well, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we are nature.
Mm,
I think it's we can't see it separate because we are made from the same things. We basically we when we die we become soil again. It's
yeah.
just a natural cycle of living, of death and life, and we're part of it. And I feel that that's also one of my biggest callings, to just spread the awareness that, like, nature, we are natural beings, and
Mm,
when we cut off this connection to nature, to trees, to grass, to everything that's around us, we also feel disconnected ourselves, because we cut ourselves off from a very very important part of ourselves.
yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, and I think in the Western world it's kind of over. I mean, not all the Western world, but like much of it is like very kind of overlooked with that, kind of topic like death and stuff. It's like quite negative, and it's like when you think about it and you peel back the layers, people connected to, we're all connected, and yeah, we do go back to nature, and like that's how it, cycle of life, isn't it? It's how it's meant to be. Um, and it's like your relationship with that, isn't it? Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's like your relationship with it. Because you're
Yeah,
saying
I
it.
feel that. Yeah, I think you were breaking up a little, or me,
So
but it's better
yeah,
now.
I can see. It's your
So,
relationship, because it's like your relationship with death, isn't it? Like that philosopher Alan Watts. Have you ever heard of him? Because he
mhm.
said there's nothing wrong with it. It's people's relationship with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally agree. It's always what we make out of everything. I think you said it a little earlier. We create our lives. We create with our thoughts. We actively create our reality. So it's all about how we approach things. It doesn't matter if it's nature, if it's food, work, crisis, anything.
Mm.
It's how we stand, how
Yeah,
we approach it. And
yeah,
yeah, I just believe that it's time to come back to our roots, basically. So, come back to having more, like, allowing more space for wildness, because
mm.
yeah, in our society nowadays, we're trying to control a lot, and controlling land, controlling animals, controlling ourselves, our behavior, our lives. We're basically all shoved down in a system. And I believe that the system is no longer serving us, and that is, yeah, no, about time to, get
Yeah,
back and get back to more natural living, and into a system that, yeah, is just
yeah,
whole.
yeah. No, I agree with you. Like more free, and I think with the system, like yeah, there's a system in place, but I think you don't have to kind of run by that script, if that makes sense. Kind of people just get kind of so absorbed in it, and unless you take a step back and you kind of like get to know yourself a bit and kind of follow what it is that you want to do, and you realize that, you know, you don't have to do what the masses are doing, you don't have to do what XYZ person told you to do, you know. And I think a lot of people feel under pressure to be a part of it and to do their bit. And if, oh, I don't have XYZ, then I feel less of a person. And, you know, if I don't get X, you know, this and that, and it just goes on, it's never ending. And then, you know, until I think people burn out or something happens in their life and they take a step back and they're like, okay, shit, I don't actually need to be doing this. You know what I mean? What was I doing? And you hear it all the time. You hear a lot of successful people who, you know, who've attained X, Y, Z and are not happy. You know, there's so many elements to it. But I think, like you said, I think a lot more places are kind of opening up to be more freer, to be, you know, more kind of accepting of people and what they want. And you know, because I think a lot of workplaces as well are like kind of using people's strengths. You know, I think if you have a place, you know, kind of accepting people for who they are, and instead of people being told what to do all the time, do you know what I mean? I mean, but yeah, I think you know, there's so much more than kind of people. I think downplay themselves, or they don't think they're good enough to do X, Y, Z when they really are. You know, we're kind of capable of doing so much more.
Totally. And
So I
it's so
said a lot then.
interesting. No, you said a lot of good things though. Because I feel that that was literally me, you know. I
Yeah.
I picked up at one point that I'm not good enough. I was different than other people, so you know, I thought, oh, I need to fit in. I need to like play small. I need to be more like the others. Um, just like being really scared of judgment or you know rejection of others, and yeah, like it didn't make me happy. I tried to fit in. I tried so many different jobs. I tried out, you know, to live in many different places, and you know, it all came down to the same issue that I just, you know, I couldn't accept myself for who I was because I feared that being me wasn't safe. And yeah, then like I mean, at one point I realized that my inner critic is actually my biggest enemy, and that once I have the courage to show up as myself and to like lean into my strengths and accept the person that I am, and yeah, just you know express it also, then that was when my life changed, and when like you know good things came flooding in, and I could create the life that you know I've been wanting and was desperate
Mm.
to live all those years.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's like definitely what I can relate to as well. I think like what you said, you know, fitting in, trying to find your place, you know, like a deeper purpose, trying different jobs. And, you know, I think, geez, like all the jobs that I had, you know, like just, you know, different restaurants and different, like, it was just kind of crazy. But I think when you're going through that, you're just kind of finding your way. How aren't you? I think you have to kind of do that sometimes to find your way, and like deep down, like, you know, you kind of feel like there's something else you want to be doing. You know, there's something more. And I think when you're kind of you still there. When you're in this kind of like similar field that we're in, it can be very difficult to kind of do those kind, you know, kind of jobs and things like that, because you have a deeper, you know, deeper purpose in, you know, in life to kind of serve, you know. And I think like what jobs was you doing, like may I ask, like, you know, prior to kind of what you're doing now, like what kind of jobs was you like involved in?
So I worked a lot in hospitality, so also different restaurants. I was working in a bar for I think 4 years. It was like one of the heaviest like
Yeah,
drinking places in town. It was great fun, but you know, I
yeah,
was just at one point I was very much over it. And you know, I don't know, I worked in an office, I worked as a cleaner.
Yeah.
I what else? Like literally, you know, I feel like a lot. But I very much, like, I always knew that just sitting at a desk is just not for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm very happy that I can mix things, you know, be at my laptop, but also be in conversation or teach yoga or have some
Mm.
workshops and events. So I always knew that I needed to be like in a field that is quite, like, let's say, multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in the jobs before, the last job I had, or one of the last jobs, was in a hotel at the reception desk. And you know, I've been in close contact to people. I've been in a place of serving others, but I wasn't seen. You know, like, people, they treated me like I'm a machine that gives them their key and, you know, their change. So yeah, and there was just like, I felt deeply that this is not enough, and that this is not how I use my potential in the best way. And then when I taught my first yoga classes, or when I had my first consultations, and I realized how people are literally like taking my words, and they cause transformation in their lives, and that, like, what I can gift them also is like,
Mm.
it's having a deep impact. And then I just realized, wow, like, I'm never doing anything else again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's really great that, staying true to yourself, and you kind of acted on, what you kind of felt within, if that makes sense, doing those jobs, doing different positions, you're still kind of taking that action upon what you actually want to do alongside, what you was doing. And I think that's, what I try and tell people, you can, you know, do what you're doing, but you can still do that thing that you actually want to do, until you're in a position to then go into that full time, then you can, you don't have to be trapped in something that you don't, just doing a job kind of thing. And, there's nothing wrong with those jobs. Like, if you enjoy it and that's your passion, you actually want to stay in it. But I think, like, like I can relate to what you were saying, because I was in those jobs and I enjoyed it and it was great. But then I just reached the stage where it's like, you know, it's not fulfilling me anymore, if that makes sense. I kind of taken what I needed, ready for something else. And I think, but deep down inside, you're like, yeah, there's something else. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I was trying to figure it out. I was doing what I was doing, and I was, there's something else. I don't know what it is yet, but there's something else, and that was difficult. But once things start clicking and falling into place, and you start noticing, as you said, what you're doing and the impact on other people, then you're like, well, geez, there's something here. I need to go into this, and I think it's great what you're doing. And I got another question. Like, well, what would you say, like, fear, something that you're afraid of?
So I think I just touched on it, but I feel like just mentioning again,
Yeah.
I was extremely scared of being myself for a long time in my life, and that caused massive mental health issues and blockages, because I couldn't see myself for the person I am, because I always kept on comparing myself to the outside, and then, ended up falling short. And so I think this was something
Mm.
that yeah, was just like, was a really, really deeply rooted fear of me. And now working with that fear, and yeah, stepping over it, or, like, not letting it rule the show anymore, but taking back my power. um, I feel that a new fear, or like something else, has come up, that is basically dying without having lived. Like, I mean, that's a fear that is
Mm.
quite quiet. It's not really having like a deep impact on me every day,
Yeah.
but it's in the back of my mind, and it's really motivating me to live my life, not just one day I do that, one day I do that, but I do it now when I want to do something. I do it right now. And I wake up every day and I think about, okay, what do I want to do today? What's my heart calling for? Because I know that then when the day comes and my life is over, I look back and I think, well, you did everything, right. Even if, I failed at
Yeah.
things, even if I made mistakes, even if, I messed up big time, then I knew that I was motivated, driven by my heart. And in this moment, I made the right decision for me, and I lived life to the fullest.
I love that, and I think that that is something I think that's very, I think, evident in a lot of people. I think you know, to just exist and not actually live, and to not to have that kind of fear of probably not living up to your potential, that it kind of stems into different things. Because I think, that's kind of what we're here for, isn't it? To live and to grow and to develop. And I think, you know, kind of wanting to do our best.
Yeah,
I think, and I
but
think,
we can't always
yeah,
do our best.
yeah, and yeah, that's it. And I think
Sometimes
that's
we just
something.
mess up, and that's okay as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. We need to be okay, more okay with making mistakes and messing up. And I think that's what sometimes you don't see in social media and the media. You really see a lot of people's success, and it's like, there's a lot of mistakes and hard times and failures and pitfalls and the process of getting to that place. And it's like kind of falls into like, what is success? Success for one person is completely different to the next. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get rejected. So, because the more that happens, okay, it's going to sting, but it's not going to sting as much as compared to what it did a month ago or last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, totally agree.
And that other question I was going to ask is like what advice would you give to people trying to figure out what they want to do? Kind of trying to figure it out.
So for me, it all started with my curiosity. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that all of us, when we were children, we were really curious about things, and we asked a lot of questions like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?" And we want to learn more. But then after a while, when we grow older, we just don't allow ourselves to be curious anymore. But I feel that this curiosity is literally what brings you to your passion, because when something's sparking interest in you, and when there is something, or you're burning to learn more, and that's just bringing out like areas of interest that then you can work with, and you can integrate more into your life. You can learn more, one point embody them to like be these things. And I feel that it doesn't always need to be hard, and it doesn't happen right now. It's more like a journey of just following, everything that looks interesting, and just trying it out, and then seeing what fits and what doesn't. And, through this, then filtering out what is your calling or your passion, your purpose. And secondly, I want to mention something that my coach Alice said to me once, which I feel is super powerful. She says, your pain is your power. So that
Mm,
basically means that the struggles you have, the lessons you had to learn in your life, they usually carry a lot of meaning for you. And I definitely know it's true for me that everything I went through, like feeling disconnected from myself, feeling, abusing substances to fill a void that was there because I was just not able to live my authentic self. And I took this pain I experienced in the past and now turned it into my power through like learning about it, through experiencing it, through healing myself, and just going through all these moments of like deep pain and suffering. And yeah, now I've showed up on the other side. I mean, there will still be like pain and suffering coming, but always taking these hard moments and looking at them as an opportunity to learn and grow, as I already mentioned earlier. And then this, seeing what you're good at and how you can utilize those tools you then learned and took over to serve, maybe, or to be closer to your purpose.
Yeah, no, I think they're really great points, and I think like you mentioned, like your pain is power, and I think that's really powerful, and like you said, you know, kind of that curiosity as well. People staying curious and asking certain questions, to themselves, and being curious of life, isn't it, and situations and people, and and asking those questions. I think if you're curious, you're kind of staying open to growth and to new situations, and if you're not curious, you just kind of like it's probably a lot easier to kind of float through life. If that makes sense. If you're curious, questioning, and that's really important. And like a lot of the time, sometimes as you mentioned, like your experience of sometimes people take certain things to kind of like fill a void, or for certain reasons. And I think it's you know I just think it's great that you being able to turn things around, and using that pain and using that experience. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's kind of like what it should be about. Instead of probably being a victim, you're taking the situation, taking your experience, and you kind of use your experience, can't you, and that pain, to help other people and to kind of push through life. I think because I think when you've been through certain things, it gives you that kind of resilience and that kind of armor and that awareness. I think to develop, um, that rapport with people. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a shift. I think when you've been in been in a place in your life, you can kind of relate to people who've been in a similar place. If that makes sense, and it's what you do with that, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that it's also just like a little nudge from the universe, like
Mm,
go into this direction, learn more about that. And I mean, we all have different challenges at different lessons, but there's so much power in really following what's innate for you, and not thinking about what your father wants you to do, what could be a safe option financially, of even though you know of course these things also have influence on us, but just grounding down into, okay, so what is coming up in my life, what is constantly like coming back to me, which topics are present, and then being curious and asking, so why is that, why is it always like, why am I always presented with the same lesson, why does like the same scenario keeps on coming back, and just learning from it and being playful with it, not taking things so seriously. I mean, that's easy to say now. If you're in an extremely painful situation, then it's hard to be playful and not take it so to your heart. But yeah, trying to just flow through it,
yeah,
experiencing this challenging moment, and knowing that you will come out on the other side, and hopefully have a lot more knowledge and wisdom afterwards, and more resilience and more power to show up in your life. And hopefully also something that is really important for me is learning the lesson and then letting it go, instead of letting it return all the time and staying stuck in cycles. Breaking out of them, breaking free from them, and seeing, okay, what lesson is presenting itself, how can I learn from it, how can I then later take it and serve others.
yeah. No, I think that's a really great point as well. And I think like, and I agree with you. And I think like like learning that lesson, and kind of moving forward as well, and not repeating the same in that same cycle. And I think like moving forward and pushing through things, like as you mentioned, I think as well, like I think a lot of the time when people are in that place, they want it kind of now. And I think like it's like being patient, isn't it? And practicing, just take each day, as long as you're moving forward, just being patient at that 1%, you know what I mean? Because I think, as you mentioned, like you said, it's easier said than done. But with that, just kind of like that patience, isn't it, as well? That just it's a process. It's a process. Like everyone's figuring it out as they go along, and I think like not one person has all their kind of shit together 100%. You know what I mean? And like as long as you're moving forward and you're learning and you're growing, then I think that's great. And I think that's definitely what you're doing now. And I think in what you're doing, your work, and I think it's that ripple effect, isn't it? Through what you're doing, you're seeing those ripples, on other people, and other people going to develop, and they may ask, tell other people about what you're doing, and doing this spreads that message. It's quite rewarding, isn't it, when you think about it?
Totally. I mean, just the thought that when I can empower people to stand in their authenticity and to take care of themselves and love themselves dearly, then they will be showing up differently in their job, in their family, in their relationship. And then, maybe they can just spread out what they've learned about themselves, or just, give others also like the permission to learn more about themselves. And then, it can ripple out really far. And just for example, I also host ecstatic dance parties on Zoom at the moment. And
That's awesome.
one of my dear friends, she, yeah, it's great fun. And my friend joined, she's a yoga teacher, and she was buzzing after the dance session. She was so happy and just so embodied in like her feminine and joyful expression. And then she went on to teach a yoga class with this energy. So she was spreading this love she experienced for herself in this moment out to her students, and then they can take it and spread it in their home. And it's just like having an impact on one person, and really generating the sense of love and like bliss in people will then really ripple out into the world. And that's what I'm here for.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think that's the thing with energy, isn't it? It's very contagious. It's very,
Yes.
Your energy can pass on to someone else, and, that kind of ripple of it, and, that vibrance of it. And I think, like, as I saw like a clip, I think you put on your story where you was doing it. And I was like, well, that's great. And that kind of like made me think, yeah, maybe I should, get into it and try it. And it's that, then, I might do it and someone else does it. And I think there's a lot of, I think with movement, there's a lot of something therapeutic about movement, and something where people can really shift, through dance, yoga, and, movement. Like I've never really done yoga, and I said to you, I'll definitely try it, try it out. But I think like a lot of people talk about yoga and this, I follow Joe Rogan, the podcaster. He does UFC commentary, and he mentioned yoga, and it's like it's the best thing he's ever done. And I think it's great, that you've been putting it into a platform where people can access it, kind of around the world.
Yeah, I think that's something that one of the things that I love about COVID, because it really empowered me to show up more on the internet. Before I was usually teaching, face to face. And that was beautiful because you have people in the same room, and it's nice. But now with the internet, I can connect to people from the US, Central America, different places in Europe at the same time, and have them all like on one screen, and just like having this exchange of just it's like this international exchange is just bringing me a lot of joy. And it feels really good, as like I was traveling so much before, and I really I feel that I also I'm longing for like input from different cultural backgrounds and all those things. So for me, having the chance to work with so many different people now is just really like, it's a blessing.
Yeah. No, I love everything that you do, and I think you're doing a great job. And that you being able to create, something, and to use your experience, and to follow your passion, and to help other people and to serve other people. I think it's really, really inspiring. And I think, like, where can people find you on, like, social media as well, and website, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. My handle is intuitive__wisdom. And yeah, you can find me on my website. It's
So
www.intuitivewisdom.de. Yeah, I'm sure you can
yeah,
like place it
I can
somewhere
put it in the
in
bio.
like a little box, right? Yeah, and there's basically all information you can ever think of about all the different things I do. I also work with a pendulum, so intuitively, I work with essential oils, so aromatherapy, and I'm working on it still, but my plan is to really use my website as a platform where there's not just information about me and my work,
Mm.
but in general information for your holistic healing journey, and a place where you can be curious, where you can just click through the pages and learn more, and yeah, maybe learn more about yourself, or just about natural healing modalities.
Yeah. No, I love that. No, that's awesome. And I'll definitely provide all the info in the bio. And it's been great talking to you. And I wish you continued success in all that you're doing. I think you're doing a great job.
Same for you, dear Adam.
No, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Really grateful for this. And yeah, I'll take care.
You too. Thank you so much for having me today. It was great fun.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was good.